Thanks for joining us early.
Yeah, no worries. I was talking with Justin on the DMs, and I was like, if you guys could just make it just a little bit later, that I could, But I was like, these guys play hardball. They're probably going to start earlier now,
No, we're happy to push that one back. Actually, so
thanks.
Good. Thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah.
That reminder.
Yeah.
Like, I have to get up at 3:00 in the morning. Can we go another hour? All right. So here we go. I'm going to count it down. 3, 2. Welcome to Nintendo Dads, episode 308, recorded on December 17th, 2020. On tonight's episode, we discuss the Indie World Showcase. You get a cat, you get a cat, and you get a cat. Sephiroth slices into Smash. And some awesome, thought-provoking questions from our community, plus Patreon executive producer Dave Ernsberg. Jesse, you know what to do.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome. It is indeed December 17th. I'm your host with the mostest of this trash fire of a podcast, Justin Masson. Joining me today are three of the coolest folks from around the internet. Starting off with our introduction, our man in... I don't know where I was going with that. I spun out. You see, the train just went off the tracks. Timothy Hoff. Tim, how are you?
Speaking of dumpster fires, what do you think of that commercial where it's a dating thing where it's showing Satan and 2020 as a girl?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that?
I did. I thought that was
taking
brilliant.
Pictures by the dumpster fire.
Yeah. That was absolutely brilliant.
Yes, but I'm doing good. How about you, Justin?
Hey, you know what? I'm doing all right. I'm happy. It's Thursday. It's always a good day to connect with people. I always get energy off of this, get enthusiasm. A little tired by the end of it, but I'm hyped to be here, and we got so much to talk about too. Joining me in that conversation, of course, the man at the soundboard, making all this sound sexy and good, Mr. Jesse Waldack. Jesse, how are you today, buddy?
Pretty good. I thought you looked confused about which corner you wanted to start at.
I never know. It's a little bit of a wild card at the very end, right? Of course, I leave the best for the last at 4 a.m. local time across the pond. He and I suffer on this idea of early mornings. We understand the pain. Executive producer Dave Ernsberg. Dave, how are you again, sir?
I'm doing well. I want to be the guy who makes it sound sexy and good. I want that title next time I come on.
I know, right? Okay, you know what? Here's what we do. Tim, can we change Dave's official title in Patreon to be the guy who makes this sound sexy and good?
Hey, I'll take it. All right. I'm up for my pleasure buck. There we go.
There you go, right? Let's remove that executive producer. Let's just put that tier on there. It's a go time. Guys, man, tons of news coming out of Nintendo this week. It was like, I think most companies kind of like roll down, get ready for winter, kind of hibernate for 2 weeks. Nintendo this week is like coming hard. And as a matter of fact, literally an hour and 20 minutes ago, Dave, this may even be too early for you to know. They sent out a tweet. They're having a Nintendo Direct tomorrow in regards to Super Mario World, the amusement park. So they are hitting us with the 1, 2, 3 punch this week. But we're going to dive into all of that. So let's just jump right into it. And of course, Tim, who's the news brought to us by?
Patreons, of course.
Good. Excellent. Thanks, Tim.
All of them.
Great job.
Oh, there's more?
There's more?
There's more?
How would one do that if they chose to be a patron subscriber like Dave?
Yes. So we have obviously our different levels that our Patreon supporters support us with. And with $1, $5, all the way up to Dave's level. And which is now the super sexy level. So
sexy and good.
Sexy and good. Yes. So we've got that level coming. So, but anyways, yes, our Patreon supporters support our news. They sponsor our news by supporting us and via Patreon. So.
Okay. We're gonna have a discussion at your year end about your band. Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation.
I'm sorry,
sounds like a story.
Marty usually does that, and Marty's not here, and I'm gonna blame Marty because he didn't properly train me as backup. For
sure. Always blame the guy who's not there who trained you, right? Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, let's jump into the news. Nintendo early this week hit us with again an Indie World showcase dropped on this Tuesday. Dave, did you get an opportunity to watch this thing?
I haven't seen this thing actually. I've been in my training regime for getting up early, so I'm gonna absorb this one as we go through.
Sure. All right. Okay. Fair enough. That's fair. Tim, you saw this, right?
Yes.
What were your thoughts on this thing? I thought this was a pretty fantastic indie, like a good closer to the year. How'd you feel about this coming off it?
Well, and this has been discussed through in our Discord and through Twitter. It's basically, you know, and even you, when you posted for the Nintendo Dads, hey, what are you expecting out of this? It's like, I don't expect anything because I don't really follow too much of what's left in the indie world that people want to come to the Switch. And I know we have a question about that later, but still, it's like, I'm not expecting anything other than Spelunky was one. So, because we talked about the last time and it didn't happen. So it was like, that was the only one that I knew of that I remember having on the Vita that I was like, I hope it eventually comes to the Switch. But, and we talked about this briefly before, but it was like, you felt like, yeah, you'll throw it out there, but you were like, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll throw it out there. So, but it was like my guess to that, I figured that, or I'll say I was hoping that eventually it would come to the Switch since it was on the Vita, but was kind of worried that it wasn't, but it did.
Yeah. I thought Nintendo did a great job sequencing this again. They usually do a lead really well with it with a good hitter, right? They start the pace well, and of course in this case, as you mentioned there, Tim, Spelunky 1 and 2 are coming to the Nintendo Switch with local multiplayer, and this is going to be the summer of 2021. That feels a little bit late to have made that announcement. I was kind of expecting they're next month or maybe March. Summer is such a. I hate it when they aim for a season. Right, I'd prefer them to say a specific month. That feels. I know
why they
lofty.
did that, though.
Sorry.
I know why they did that, though.
Why is that, Tim?
Because we asked them to. We asked them to bring out Spelunky the last time, and because they wanted to make us happy.
Yes.
The Nintendo Dads. They were like, okay,
we're
going to announce it. We're not ready.
We as in the Nintendo Dads.
Yeah, the Nintendo Dads.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Blame us.
They were listening and they were like, okay, we're not ready yet, but we'll say it's coming. That way, that way the Nintendo Dads can get off our back.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like I've been that's really, we just barrage companies with insults until they decide to actually give us what we want. Right?
No, we barrage them with kindness. That's what we were doing.
That's a good point. I like it. So Spelunky 1 and 2. Jesse, did you ever play Spelunky? Or Dave, did you ever play Spelunky on any other device? No?
It's the kind of game that sends me into spirals of frustration and despair. So I've toyed with it, but I haven't gotten really very far.
And that's why I haven't played it.
Okay. All right. And for me, as I watched it, I was like, this is definitely a Justin game for sure. So I was very excited.
Especially the multiplayer part.
I think Marty, too. Marty, I think he's the one who he likes the roguelikes, right?
Roguelikes, yep. For sure. The next game that was, there you go. Tim's got it right there. Next game that was listed was Fisty Fluffs.
Fisty Fluffs.
Fisty Fluffs. This was the cat game, right, Jesse?
Yes. It's like it kind of looked like Untitled Goose Game in terms of how the art style is.
It did very much so, yep. But
with fighting cats. And the cats didn't move very gracefully. It's like you could only control their front paws, and their back halves just kind of got dragged along.
That's like
Surgeon Simulator or something.
Yeah,
Octodad.
Right, where it's just you're kind of flailing along. There's another game too that my son likes to play. The name of the game is escaping me. But yeah, it's like where you just basically you're flopping around just to grab things, and it's very funny looking at. I'm sure my kid's gonna want to play it.
Yeah, it definitely had that kind of like cartoon zaniness. This is a timed Switch exclusive, early 2021. Then it moved on to Very Very Valet, timed exclusive for the Switch, early 2021 as well. This kind of looked like a car-based physics kind of chaos game.
I'm excited for this one. This kind of has that same loose mechanics, kind of like the Fistifluss, but with cars.
It's like Good Job, but with outside of the buildings instead of the inside of the buildings.
Yeah.
This one looked interesting, though. It's on my list of ones that I'm interested in.
Okay. All right. The next one was really quite funny. Tunche. Is that how we say that? Tunche.
Tunche, I think.
Tunche. It was so funny because they said we're going to talk about Tuncha, and I was like, that game sounds really familiar. And then as I'm watching the screen, I was like, oh yeah, I backed that on Kickstarter like 2 years ago. So I'm excited to find out that that's coming out on March 21st, March of 2021. Again, timed exclusive. I thought the art style looked really good on that one as well.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, that looks really.
That's on my list.
Good. It was why apparently I backed it 2 years ago. So
right.
Who knows? The next one really piqued my interest, and I was super excited for this. Cyber Shadow. Now, this is from, I don't know the developer, but the publisher is Yacht Club Games. And of course, if you don't know who Yacht Club is, Shovel Knight, right? And so it definitely feels, it looks like Ninja Gaiden, down to some of the move sets. Reminds me obviously of the Messenger from a year or 2 years ago, which was inspired by Ninja Gaiden as well. Has that awesome 8-bit look and kind of also reminds me a bit of Shovel Knight. So this one I'm super excited for. Dave, I'm seeing you nodding your head. Do you remember this one, or does this pique your interest?
Well, I loved Shovel Knight, so I'm interested to try this one out, definitely. And it's been a long time since they, as far as I know anyways, announced a new title going in a new direction. Right? They've been building on Shovel Knight forever, so that's exciting to hear as well.
Yeah, now and that's a good point. The part I would say here is I think they're the publisher. They're not the developer.
Right.
Yeah, the developer is Mechanical Head Studios.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I think there's definitely some collaboration and coordination, and even actually one of the things we can say here is that there is a Shovel Knight amiibo compatible, or it's compatible as well with the game. So there is obviously some hooks in that they have there.
Yeah, and we've seen this game before on the previous Direct because I had it in my future games list. It was TBD at the time. Actually, it was 2020. I changed it to TBD and dropped it to the bottom of the list the day before this landed.
Oh, really?
So I had to put it back up to near the top. Yeah, and it's not just the Shovel Knight, but all of the other DLC characters. Those amiibos will also will give you a fairy companion that does things.
Yeah.
And this has a launch of actually January 26, 2021, so that's coming very quickly as well.
This one scares me though because of how fast paced it looked. Like
yes,
you got to have your Twitch skills on hand there.
Imbecile asks, what platform did you back Tunche on?
Switch. Imbecile, great question. The next game was Calico, and we have down here it is a cat cafe sim. And it was available later that day. Sorry, what was that, Tim?
Another cat game.
Another cat game.
You get a cat.
It was perfect timing.
Yes.
Right? Yes, right. Check. Anyone? No?
Check.
Okay, cool. Moving on. Anyone interested in the cat game? Cat sim game?
After Pokemon Cafe Mix, I'm kind of burnt out on that franchise, on that type of gameplay already. So.
Yeah, burnt out on cafe sims, hey? I hear you. That's such a deep genre.
It
Cafes.
Is. It is now, at least.
The next one, how do you pronounce this? Ganosa?
Well, you missed one.
Above that.
Oh yeah, Alba, sorry. Alba, a wildlife adventure coming out in September 2021. Spring, thank you. This game that's currently on Apple Arcade, I believe.
I don't know.
Anyone recall or interested in this game?
This one is actually, this one didn't stick out to me for some reason. I don't remember.
It's like a little kid running around an island.
Okay.
All right. See, and there's exactly it. You're like, all right, moving on. Okay, we're cool. Move on.
The next one I think is Ganosa.
Ganosa, early 2021.
Oh yeah, okay.
Jesse, you have Among Us like. You have some notes here. Tell me what's going on.
It looked, well, the way they were describing it, it sounds like a game of Among Us where you're trying to find the imposter out of everyone else, but it's a single player game and everyone else is NPC, so I'm not sure how that will work.
Yeah. Okay. There's different endings because different people could be it. That's what I got out of it too.
Okay. The next one after this scared the living bejeebus out of me. And it was called Happy Game. And Happy Game looks like not a happy game.
No.
And very, very creepy.
That's called irony.
I was wanting them to move on very quickly. I was like, no, hard pass.
I don't need anything to give me nightmares, thank you.
No, I was like, this is nightmare inducing for sure. The next one had me happy, and it was Super Meat Boy Forever, finally coming out on December 23rd. So this is next week. Interestingly enough, it was announced at the Game Awards last week when we did our live stream that it was coming to Steam also on December 23rd, but there was no other platform announced, obviously coming to Switch as well. I said this on Twitter a bunch of times. I played this game back in 2017 at EGX in September. So it has been over 3 years since I played a first build of it, and I enjoyed it there, had a chance to sit down with Tommy and actually meet with him and interview him and play it together. And like, it's just one of those games that just felt like it kind of sat in development limbo forever and was never coming out. I kind of like these, like, Twitch based, one jump, quick death, quick back in kind of games. You learn a lot from your path. I'm very excited to give this a shot. Anyone else here played any of or anyone else played Meat Boy before, or Super Meat Boy?
No.
I tried the original. I did not last long before
I suspect
done.
You would not like that game at all. Dave, how about you?
Falls into my Spelunky category. Things that get me stressed for $100. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, you can watch me on December 23rd be stressed for about an hour as I play.
Very good. I enjoy watching other people do it. That sounds all right
good.
to me. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll be tuning in too.
And I like how it looks when and I like how it looks when you finish the map, when you have 50,000 of characters bouncing around into the deaths.
Yeah. The really interesting part about it, for those of you that now, again, when I played the first build back in 2017, essentially his idea. Now, this, you have to remember, in 2017 the Switch was really quite new, right? So the idea that he had proposed, or he had talked about, and the build that we got a hands on, so it could be completely different, right, from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it was an endless runner, one button jumping. So it ran instantly. You hit when it jumped. You did all those moves. Like so it moved you that way, as opposed to before where you kind of had to pick and choose.
Super Mario Run with saw blades.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't know if that's what it's like right now, but I'm excited for it. Okay. The next one that I'm very excited for, which wasn't out today, was Grindstone. And this is one of the ones that I was pumped for. I was saying to the lads here before, Grindstone was available in Apple Arcade. I got Apple Arcade for like a month to give it a shot. I played about 4 levels of it. And I thought, oh, this is cool. I like it. My wife likes these kind of games. I handed it over to her, and she proceeded to take the game for the next 30 days on that file and ran through the entire game and finished it. And it was like the game that, like, it consumed her life. I highly recommend it. Grindstone is absolutely fantastic, and the port over to the Switch is absolutely brilliant. There's some little spots where you're trying to get your angles, of course, because touchscreen is a little bit easier to do these things. If you're going to go left or right or up and down, it's an easy connection, obviously, but you're trying to get those angles. That's kind of where it can be a little bit finicky, but they have a really great quick access to pull it back on the B button. I am absolutely loving Grindstone. It's currently out on the Switch. On sale as well for like 20% off. So it's like, in Canada, it's less than $20 Canadian. So yep. I'd recommend it.
And if you still need more convincing, go watch Justin's video on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. Dave, do these kind of games interest you?
Puzzling sounds like fun. Yeah, I could definitely give that a go. I'll check it out. Yes.
Okay, this will be less stressful than Saw Blades. I promise you that.
All right, we're working back into my comfort zone here. Slowly.
Good. Yeah, excellent. All right. They then finished off with a montage of When the Past Was Around Us, which was available out that day. And Tim, you've got a review copy of that, do you not?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we'll expect some coverage from Tim on that one if you're interested in When the Past Was Around Us.
Yes.
Cosmocrats. Okay. All right. That one's a timed exclusive in March. Hoya, April 2021. Hazel Sky, March 2021. Trash Sailors, which is actually my nickname for Jesse, is on spring of 2021. Finding Paradise, my nickname for Tim, is spring of 2021.
Want to trade?
So some quick little montages there, and then the final one that they ended off with, ladies and gentlemen, was kind of, I think, the one that no one really saw coming, but everyone was kind of hoping for, which was Among Us, and it was out today. Dave, have you played Among Us?
I haven't played it, but it's very popular in my household. My kids go on about it endlessly. It sounds like it's a great game.
Yes.
Yeah.
My whole family plays it together. We have a blast with it whenever we get to play together, or even if it's just me and my kids.
Yeah.
So, but my wife will participate every once in a while.
Yeah, and you know, and that was exactly it. It was quite popular. I know my kids had talked about it before, but I hadn't really played it. And I was like, well, for $5, I'll give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
We picked it up, and that night, I'm going to tell you, like, everyone was on a device. We're all in the living room playing together, having laughs. You know, it's really kind of just like what family game night kind of is. And then the really great part was we said, well, there's 4 of us. Why don't we see if we get some more friends in? So some quick text calls and messages later, and then all of a sudden we had a room of 9 people online. And we were playing the game, and it was a lot of fun. And then we were obviously, for those of you who are unaware, we were playing a stream of it just before this the podcast kicked off for about 45 minutes, and it's just an absolute blast.
Yeah, I think it's outstanding that it's coming to the Switch. I mean, what a machine Nintendo have given us, because to your point, it's such a massive game. It's big in society. I found a whole new audience on Switch. I'm sure I'll play it there. Yeah. But the Switch has become such a great machine for bringing all these experiences into one place. So I'm really thrilled to see it show up.
Yeah.
The thing that we have, I think the game in general doesn't have voice chat, and so people or would like to see that on PC. And that would make more sense.
It's gonna fit right in then.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
So, if you're playing online with random people, or even people in private rooms without people in the same room, or without using a Discord or a different type of voice chat, and you're stuck using the typing, you're gonna want to put a keyboard connect the keyboard to the Switch if you can type faster that way, because otherwise that on-screen keyboard will hide the entire conversation. If you're a slow typer, you're going to miss everything, and then you're voted out for not participating.
Yeah, it definitely feels like something that you have to have some kind of group call accessibility. With our call earlier today, we used Discord, and then when it kind of went to the voting, everyone just muted themselves if they were dead. But I would highly recommend it. It's been a ton of fun. But I love that statement, Dave, of kind of like the Switch is this amazing platform of, and sometimes it blows my mind of like right beside Breath of the Wild, you can have Among Us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly. Right beside Mario Odyssey, there's like BioShock Infinite.
Yeah,
like,
if you think about what it's become just in like 3 years, to have all of those different experiences in that one environment, it's just really good. And then of course you pack it into being able to take that on the go with you, or have it on your TV screen in your living room or whatever. I mean, it's the one environment where you can sort of do it all. I was looking for other indie games that I might wonder when it would ever come over, and they're almost all there already. So if you're an indie fan especially, it's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's actually a fantastic segue, Dave. It's like you've done this before. I love it. Andros from Nintendo Pals and our community asks, with reveal of Spelunky 1 and 2, I got thinking, what are some other awesome indie games that are left that you want to come to the Switch? What are your top picks? Now, Dave, you said you're struggling already to think of one. Did you find one? Did you figure one out?
I found 2 that I would like to see come over, actually. But before I mention either of them, and thank you for letting me go first, because I'd be surprised if anybody else can find any after I mention at least one of my 2. So I just want to call out the ones that I was looking for first that apparently have already arrived. So Firewatch, great game. It's on Switch already. Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, great game on Switch already. And there's countless others. So the one that I'm going to go with was actually coming out in Q1 2021, but it's not out yet. So it's Thomas Was Alone, which I really enjoyed. It's a Bithell game. Yeah, so that one apparently is coming out next year.
Which game?
I did not know that Thomas Was Alone. Okay.
Which one? Thomas Was Alone is a perfect Switch game. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Tim, but it's rectangles and squares, and they have their own personas and personalities, and I think you play as one of the shapes, and you've got to go through the game. And it's a great sort of puzzler with a heart and a little bit of story. And it's appeared on a lot of platforms. It's just a really kind of enjoyable bite-sized game you can pick up and put down, but it's got a lot of heart to it as well. It's very, very good.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. All right. Jesse, how about you, sir?
I'm not thinking of anything off the top of my head. Either the games I'm thinking of are either are already on the Switch, and I'm trying to go back to games that I might have played on a PS3, 4, Vita, and right now I'm not coming up with anything. So I may have to pass on this question.
Okay. All right. Tim, I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay, so like I said, I'm not very aware of what popular like indie games are in the PC, but one that came to mind that was made by the developer who created Braid, Jonathan Blow, created The Witness, and that was, I think, came out on other consoles, but it has not come to Switch, obviously, because it is a beautiful looking game, kind of like a Myst type looking game back in the day when we all thought that was beautiful, you know. But Witness is basically just a really beautiful looking puzzler that's supposed to be really good, and I'm surprised that hasn't made its way over. But we are getting Braid that's coming over to 2021 as well. But maybe that comes first, and then we eventually get Witness, depending on how well Braid does. But yeah, that's the one I picked.
Okay. I am one of those unfortunate people that I am so much of a geek on this that I actually have a list that says hopefully coming to the Nintendo Switch. Or
nice.
So I was actually somewhat prepared. So the challenge is I had to go through this and find out what I think were indies. So I've actually got a couple for you.
Okay.
For me, Fez, I thought would be fun to come over. I have never played it, but I remember watching a documentary about like indie design, and he was one of the first ones. So Fez, I think, would interest me.
I have that on
Didn't he have a meltdown?
Yeah, I think he did as well. But that doesn't take away from the quality of the game, Jesse, all right?
It just takes away from the probability of it happening.
Fair enough, yeah. The other one that I'm really hoping for, and I kind of keep every time we have one of these indie directs, I'm like, come on, is, nice, Fez, I see that, is Outer Wilds.
Oh, yes.
Outer Wilds. This came out almost the exact same timing as Outer Worlds last year, which was really unfortunate because I think a lot of people got that mixed up. Done by Annapurna, I believe, is the publisher. But I think that is one of those games that every time I look at them, like, there's no reason this can't be. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of kind of the Firewatch in some way, right? That kind of first person, but you've only got like 21 minutes and the world destroys. That game really has got me. And then I'm going to call out some other really quick ones I have on my list here. If we consider them to be indies, I don't know, Bugsnax, right? I think that would be.
Yeah, I was going to use that as my reserve. I've been playing that on the PlayStation, and it is the quintessential Switch experience. So it's, I mean, almost certainly whenever exclusivity is up, I have to think that's going to come over, and it'll be great.
Yeah. And then the other one that I have on here from an exclusivity perspective, which I'm curious about that we always talk about, and I thought was maybe going to be in the spot that, well, I didn't really think it was going to be where Among Us was going to be on this drop because I didn't think it was probable, is Fall Guys. I think that is the other one that feels natural. Whenever that exclusivity comes up, they're going to start moving that stuff.
Yeah, I think both those games are a bit like Rocket League, right? Like they're going to have a long run on PlayStation, but I think when they come over, they'll be really popular again over on Switch for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, using that Rocket League actually analogy is fantastic, Dave, because you're 100% correct. Yeah.
Okay. I did think of one.
Oh, what'd you think of there, Jesse? Okay. Picross XL Original Edition Mystery Dungeon RPG?
No, not a Picross game. This game was released, I think, 3 years ago on PC, but the nature of the game it'll never come out to a console. It just wouldn't work. But it still would be fun if they could get it to work. It's Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did hear a lot about that actually. Yeah. Huh. Speaking of, and just a little bit of a segue connection there, actually, basically, as we're thinking of indie games that are coming over. I know last week, Disco Elysium was announced at the Game Awards.
Yep.
And we were like, oh, it's coming out, but it's not coming to the Switch. It was actually announced it was coming out to the Switch, but like it wasn't announced in that weird trailer. But
right. It's down there. It's in the notes later.
Okay, all right. Well, fair enough. We can scratch that one right.
Spoilers.
I know, right? Way to read ahead, guys. In general, what do we think of this Indie World Direct? Dave, I know you didn't watch it, but you got kind of a 30,000-foot view from our speed over. What you think of it?
Well, I'm excited to go back and revisit that, or visit it for the first time, but revisit the ideas because you shared them here. I mean, those all sound like games that are well worth picking up, so I'm pumped for it. I'm now excited and regretful that I didn't do my homework and watch it the first time round.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
By the way, Disco Elysium especially pleased to hear about, because that game was a lot of people's game of the year last year, and I think it's just PC, or at least it has been just PC. Yeah. So I'm excited for that one. That sounds great.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that I had heard a lot of game of the year, but that's kind of the things I like to kind of think of is when you think of what could come to Switch next year or 2021. Think about where you're hearing game of the year buzz around, right? And then you think, okay, if it's having success there, they're going to want to try. And especially if I shouldn't say especially. Now, there are some games, Cyberpunk, which will probably not come over in that way, right? At least natively. But I think it is
Spider-Man.
Right, is always one of those things to look at. Spider-Man's not coming, Tim. I'm so sorry. To take. Listen, there's a little bit of reasonableness in these. God
of War. God of War? We gonna get that one?
Yeah, it's God of War for sure.
Okay.
I'll make you a deal. I think God of War will come to Fortnite sooner than God of War will come to anywhere else.
It'll never happen.
And Dave, you talked about a little bit of Switch kind of being this great spot for indies. Is there any indies that you've been playing yourself that kind of really stand out that you've enjoyed the most in maybe 2020 or just in general?
So we might talk about this later, but the one I'm enjoying the most is, and it is a surprise given my aversion to games that make me go crazy, but Hades has just been wonderful. And really, I know everybody's said this a lot, but it's taken me by surprise. I listened to the reviews. I heard people talk about it, finally gave in. And that for me would be the pick of the indies, actually.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Jesse.
You mentioned Cyberpunk earlier, and on a little breaking news, Sony delisted Cyberpunk from their store.
Yeah.
Yep.
And offering refunds.
That is a math. We could have a whole post show on Cyberpunk and have a conversation there, because I think that has been some real interesting stuff.
CD Projekt Red are on the naughty list by now. I think
right?
So.
Yeah, I mean, like taking a step this way, we can take a side step off this path for a moment here, but this is the team that brought us The Witcher 3.
Exactly.
This is the team that had so much credibility and clout and goodwill, and we were the image that keeps continuing coming to my mind for Cyberpunk is there's that scene in Star Wars Episode 3 where Obi-Wan yells at Anakin. He says, "You were the chosen one." Right, I feel like that was it for 2020. Cyberpunk is you were the chosen one to save us. And
the last time I was with you, I was playing Witcher on Switch, and we were all talking about how, to your point about being the golden one, they were the studio that were committed to do the heavy lifting to make this run well on the Switch. Yeah. So they were riding high for that and other reasons, but man, have they fallen low in the last. Couple. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Then the hyper fans were crying whenever they saw someone give it a 7 out of 10, and then IGN gave the PS4 version a 4 out of 10.
4, yeah,
and well deserved apparently.
Has anyone?
I thought of a dad joke, by the way, for Cyberpunk.
Yes, go ahead.
May I? Since I'm on
to play it at all.
Sort of a relentless early adopter of stuff like that. It's not, it's very available. So, but I had nothing that made the case to actually try it out. Not really, but this is the one, right? Because you knew from the coverage you had to play it on a high-end PC to get the best experience. My understanding of Stadia is when you get in there, you're effectively playing on a high-end PC. So I've been streaming it over Stadia on my living room television through Chromecast, and that's how I've been experiencing it. All that I would say is I think I'm going to put it down and back away and let them do the work they got to do. Because even on Stadia and what is presumably a high-end PC on the other end of things, again, I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi. I don't know if it's the machine on the other end. But whenever I get into, let's say, a gunfight, everything just grinds to a halt. And it could be my Wi-Fi. So, I think Stadia is good. The streaming's been good. But I just haven't been able to have the silky smooth experience that you kind of need to have with a game like that. There's so much going on the screen that you want to have that kind of lucid experience. So, but look, it's I'm not high as a kite. I'm not low as a low. It's just I think I just need to back away and come back next year because there's plenty of other things to play.
Yeah, and that's a great point, actually. So I will be honest. I have also been playing Cyberpunk 2077, and I have also been playing it on Google Stadia. Mm-hmm. So in Canada, I think you and I mentioned, I had this conversation with you, but they offered this: if you pre-order Google Stadia, pre-order Cyberpunk 2077, we will send you a whole Google Stadia unit. And I was like, so if I pay $80, I get a $140 device. that sounds like a deal for me.
Yeah.
So that kind of made me pull the trigger and jump in. Now I haven't got my system; it's actually supposed to arrive later this week. So I have been playing it on a ThinkPad, Lenovo ThinkPad, Chrome browser, hooked up with a Wi-Fi signal, and playing it on an Xbox controller plugged in with a USB port. And I will tell you that pretty decent experience. And I think kind of to you, I'm like, when I do have a lag or a problem, like, is it my Wi-Fi or is it the system? So it's a little bit hard to diagnose that problem, to identify where the challenge is. But I will also say I've also been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla on Stadia as well. And those two experiences, if I was to say which has a more premium experience, which is a smoother experience, and which one is maybe showcasing Stadia better, I would actually probably say Assassin's Creed. Because I think to your point, let's put it down and let's maybe come back to Cyberpunk in 3-4 months when they have got that big patch done first, and that may be okay. These things are smoothed out. So, and
of course, the CD Projekt Red they've demonstrated they're a great sort of long tail supporter. They will do the patching. They obviously got convinced to do a very foolish launch here for reasons that will come out in the washing one day. But they gave such great not just patch support but kind of DLC support to The Witcher that I do think Cyberpunk 2077 will be well worth playing sometime before 2077. I don't know when.
Yes.
And the other thing I'd say, by the way, just on the streaming thing, the other trigger for me to do this was I've really hit the wall on downloads and patches and putting a game in and it not starting for like 8 hours while it downloads things. So what I will say is logging into Stadia, buying Cyberpunk and hitting play and it just playing was fantastic. So that if that's part of the streaming feature on Switch, for example, Switch doesn't download mega patches generally anyways, not really, occasionally, but not often, right? But not having to go through the day one download was wonderful. So there was a lot of positive things that came out of that experience that made me very bullish for the future.
Yeah, and I think we've had some conversations before. Someone's saying #CloudDads here in the chat. Hey, who knows? That sounds like it might, that sounds like there might be a new channel starting. Who knows? But yeah, I do think that's something that Nintendo will have to continue to look at. I'm very interested in seeing, what the next several years of Nintendo's investment in the cloud spacing is, especially as companies like Stadia begin to find their footing, whether they can deliver on those promises. Now, again, they're not delivering exclusivity, but like if you're able to deliver kind of some banger of deals, great example. This last week, I picked up Borderlands 3, the Ultimate Gold Edition, for $10 on Stadia. $10. It was on sale from $120 for $10, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll pull a trigger on that one. We'll see what happens, right?" But it'll be interesting to see how that Luna, Nintendo, and obviously what Game Pass is occurring, right? What Xbox is doing. That the future of gaming, the battle for gaming, the battlegrounds is going to be on streaming. That's where it's going to be, and that's where it's going to move in the next several years. I think it's an interesting place to be.
Before we move on, the last thing I wanted to say about Cyberpunk is the big red flag to me that this game was not going to go well was the recommended video card is a card that's only been on the market 2 months and costs $800. How the hell did they develop this on a card that doesn't yet exist? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy stuff. Moving on to some more crazy stuff. Today, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Last week, we got an introduction of, how do you say the character's name? Sephiroth. Sephiroth was coming
You're not going to read what I put in the notes, huh?
No, I don't read your notes. I just kind of take out what I want.
He's not going to call him Sakurai-San.
No, Sakurai-san, not going to say that. Sakurai presented Sephiroth's DLC, some quick high-level pieces of this, because let me tell you, anytime they do a Smash DLC character thing, you can get in the weeds on this thing, right? Like, you can watch every down B Smash, and you're like, I don't want to do this. So I'm going to give you like the high-level things. If you want to watch the 35-minute reaction video, you can do that on our YouTube channel.
And Mecha Dragon, yes, this was earlier today.
Yes, high level. There are Mii costumes, new Mii fighter costumes coming. Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, is that how you say that? Aerith, the Chocobo, hat. So those are all from Final Fantasy. And then Gino from Super Mario RPG. Jesse, you have your rest in peace.
Yep.
Because I guess everyone wanted him as a character. He's not showing up as a character.
Right.
So,
Let's finish up this bullet, and then this would be a good segue into the voicemail we have.
Sure.
So again, just like normal, these are 75 cents each. So
yes.
I'm still waiting for Waluigi.
If they're gonna do it, it's gonna be like the last one, the very last one. Or here's what I think they're gonna do. It'll be a bonus. You know how like the Piranha Plant was a bonus at the beginning?
Right.
That's what I think
like,
too.
Here they are. Oh, and one last thing, and all you hear is this.
Man.
It's gonna be a thank you thing. It's gonna be like, thanks for all that you've given, and going through this for the last.
Thanks for putting up with my trolling for 5 years.
Yeah.
All right, here's that voicemail.
It is ridiculous that Mii Fighter costumes are not available with the package deal. I would be more inclined to purchase the package deals if they were included, definitely.
That was from Bruce Patterson.
I agree, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no, Bruce, you're not going to hear anyone. I mean, Tim, if you want, you can argue this fight, but I think you're going to lose. I know you're very passionate about this topic.
No, I think that they did do this before, right? In the Wii U version, then you bought a fighter and then got costumes with it. I could have swore it was a package deal at that time too, unless I'm mistaken.
I don't think they came in. They didn't have a season's pass, but they.
No, I know that
they did sell bundles.
Right. That may be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you can buy the character by itself. You can buy Mii costumes by itself, or you can buy a bundle. It
was a package where you could buy, like you said, a bundle. That's what I was thinking of. So,
but there was no discount with the bundle. It just added everything up and maybe saved 2 cents or something like that.
Okay, but yeah, even if they still did the bundle, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I think we all 100% agree with you here, Bruce. Like if you've bought a season pass, you've already paid the $25 for the season pass, like, and then they're gonna nickel and dime you for 75 cents.
Yeah, $3.75 if you want all 5.
Like, come on, really? Like that just I don't know. I'm never impressed with it when they do that. Anyone else want to counter me on that thought, or does it, like, if you're super strong opinion of like, no, you should be paying 75 cents, let me know.
I'm just glad they aren't more expensive. Like they probably could have done 99 cents each, and
I'm sure there's people
we wouldn't lose sales over that.
No, for sure not. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was gonna say, I think they've really let the Mii thing kind of fall a little bit by the wayside, which is a shame because it was a real defining part of the 3DS experience and the Wii and everything else. But to charge you money for costumes on top of it just feels like, being held up. It really gets me pretty unhappy. I think that's where the monetization side is too far.
Yeah, the Mii is a very legacy feature.
Yeah,
I do remember that there was, at the time when they did the bundles, or if you did buy, it seemed like there were still people complaining about, I want to be able to pick and choose. So maybe that's kind of like what they're trying to do, is to say, hey, here's all the different ones. But I do agree with Bruce. It's like, hey, just if I want to get them all, give me a bundle, and if I want to pick and choose, give me choices. It's always about choices. Give us the choices.
Yeah, not super impressed with that one. I would agree. A couple of other highlights to talk about here from the DLC, from the character. Let's start off with actually probably the important one, which everyone actually really wants to know, is when is the character actually coming out? Well, that's September 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I apologize. That's a challenge. When is the character?
That's an asterisk.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you. But it is December 22nd that he is available to pick up. Also, 9 new song tracks will be added from Final Fantasy. I think this is great because when we got Cloud, we only got 2. So they're adding 9. Here's the really interesting part. If you do get a chance to, one of the things I like about Sakurai is there's an honesty and a candidness about his work, right? He's talked about the time of like, Nintendo kind of like told me to do something and I did it and I didn't really want to, and it's a lot of work and they just think I can snap my fingers. There's a little bit of like sassiness I like about that. But it was interesting because he actually said, he's like, we wanted to add more songs, but it's actually really hard. And it's not hard because of programming. It's hard because of copyrights and because of who owns what song and what companies own what song and international and like different laws. And so he actually kind of went into a little bit of that, which I could kind of appreciate. He just kind of explained like, it'd be great, but like to find out who actually owns it and who actually has the right and the conversations and the legal teams to get involved, it's pretty tough. I thought that was pretty good of him, though. Jesse, you're a music guy, especially Final Fantasy. You have affinity for it and a passion. How did any of this land with you?
Well, I don't have any passion for Final Fantasy VII, so I'm more a fan of the older games. So I understand One Wing Angel, and I think we already had a version with Cloud. So now we basically have 3 versions of the same song out of the 11. Yep. Do we really have that much of a variety?
Sure.
And wanted to go back a bit, talking about that asterisk on the release date. Technically, you can play him now.
Yes.
So starting at 6 o'clock Eastern today, the game updated, which opened up a Sephiroth challenge. Mm-hmm. So you pick a character to play against Sephiroth as a boss fight. If you beat Sephiroth, you have access to him and his stage right away. If you choose to not fight him or can't beat him, he will unlock on December 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern. So eventually, on the 22nd, you'll have him, and that's if you've paid for it. If you haven't paid for him yet, you're not going to get the challenge. So you can, if you haven't paid for it, you have to do that first.
I thought this was like the weirdest level of early access I have ever seen.
It is.
Right? Well, you've already paid for this, so for early access, you need to fight him to earn him for 5 days before you can actually get him permanently. That seems weird.
I think it's interesting. It adds a little bit of a spin to it, especially if you're someone who's played through it and done everything, this would probably be easy challenge for you. But for someone who like me who hasn't gone through all the characters in this game, I kind of pick at it. It's interesting. So
my son says he's wanting to do the very hard mode using Pac-Man as a character.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's see. Yeah,
he's putting run out of challenges. Then
he's putting himself in hard mode.
Yeah,
man.
So
Dave,
for me,
Dave,
I'm probably not going to get. I'm not going to win him. Probably the first try.
Dave, are you a Smash fan?
Oh yeah, I had my most recent bonding moment with my oldest son playing Smash with him and his buddy. They're both 16, and this is about a week ago. And they were over because of the lockdown and so on. They were here rather than at college and all that. So we were playing Smash, and I was busting out all my favorite moves with my preferred character, and suddenly I became aware of this hilarious laughter in the room, and I was like, laughter is not the noise I expect to hear when I'm delivering the pain on the screen. And I said, what are you guys laughing about? I said, oh man, you are such a button masher, Dad. You suck. And then I realized the reason I could hear them laughing is because I'm the only one smashing all the buttons in the room, and I'm definitely a kind of wildfire random Smash Brothers player, definitely.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. Jesse, anything from this character that rings true to you, or anything else you want to call out? I mean, there's a lot of technicalities here of the sword stabbing and all this kind of stuff. But is there anything else that we should maybe highlight?
Let's see here. The stage looked interesting, and if you're not busy actually doing the fighting, if you look at the background, it kind of tells the story of the end of the game.
Yeah, it was interesting because the stage is very static. Like the actual, the platform is very close to the final destination, right? Level, and then 2 stages on the side, just platforms. But the rest of it dynamically is shifting in the background, moving, telling a story, but nothing else appears to be environmentally impacting.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I was watching, I was like, I feel like I might be getting a bit nauseous.
Yeah. And then there was a lot of detail about his wing that will sometimes come out and what benefits it gives him, and I think I got all the notes in, but it's a pretty complicated and not very. I don't think you can really trust it to come out when you want it to come out unless you really know what's going on.
Yeah. So what I love about Smash is the balancing that goes into it, and the tender loving care that goes into the balancing, and I'm a huge admirer of that, even though I play it in a random, chaotic way. So I have a question for you, Justin, because there's been a lot of noise about Kratos joining Fortnite, and people have been talking about Fortnite being the Smash of the rest of the video game industry. And I know you play it on Switch. So my question is are those just skins in Fortnite, or is there balancing going on?
Just skins.
Yeah, there you go. Right, so it'll
Yeah.
never be in the same league for me, because then
No.
if you're going to balance it out, that's a whole different art form right there.
Yeah, even the and I kind of even think of like the hitboxes too.
Right.
Like the characters are all pretty stock. Like there's nothing. I mean, there are characters that maybe look bigger, but then I look at them and I was like, but I doubt the hitbox is bigger, right?
Yeah,
Like it just feels like a skin overlay. So that's the one thing that I think they do really well there, right? So there doesn't have to be balance, which I think is one of the ways that it allows it to be so much quicker. So yeah. I would say, and maybe the question that you're maybe feeding into there to you, Dave, is as I was watching this, I even said during the stream, I was like, this character feels super unbalanced. Because they have such a large sweep with that sword.
Yeah.
They have got this move where they actually fall off a cliff, and then they can stab the cliff and then stand on their sword and bounce back on.
Right.
I was like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. He does seem to have a lot of cooldown as well. So
Yeah.
if you're not careful, you can leave yourself open.
My sense is they start the new characters a little OP, so people can kind of get used to them and would want to play them against maybe characters people are more expert at. So maybe they did that on purpose, and they'll nerf Sephiroth eventually. But my feeling is they try and get you to, for a certain group of people to come in and give it a go, and you'll know you get a tiny bit of an advantage while you get used to the moveset maybe.
Yeah. They said the same thing about Hero too. Yeah. I don't know if they necessarily nerfed him over time. I haven't heard.
I'm a Little Mac guy, so you'll struggle to get me off Little Mac.
Nice, there you go. I like it. Tim, do you have a main? Obviously, Dave's talking about his Little Mac. What about you?
My main right now has been Dark Samus.
Dark Samus. Okay.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
Dark Samus, or even the Dark Link, or
Toon Link.
the dark version of Link.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, those are the two mains.
Jesse, how about you? You're not a huge Smash player.
I don't own the game.
You don't own the game, so that would be no. Fair enough. I right now have been maining a lot of either the Joker or Terry. Have kind of been my two that I have kind of gotten pretty good at. I usually do a bit of a run with the new character when they come out and give them a shot. I have not touched Steve yet though. Steve can't deal with that.
I did a little bit, and because I don't know it as well as, say, you guys that play more than I do, or like Marty when he's done videos on stuff. I did a video. I was streaming, trying Steve for a little bit, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. But there were some people in the chat, like Ebisel was there. I think he helped me say, hey, try this button combination. And I think Anoxis was there too, I think. And he was helping me with some button combinations too. So, I mean, there's people who are watching the stream and they're telling me what moves to try and stuff like that. So that's the part I like to do too, is explore character, figure out what moves they have, and learn from there. So, and then get my butt whooped, if I ever go online.
That's awesome. Speaking of Smash, we'll run into this next question. Michael JP from our community asks, in honor of the crazy reveal of Sephiroth in Smash, which hand character picked each of the Fighter Pass picks? Go through each of the Ultimate DLC characters and decide whether Master Hand, whether it's Cold, Methodical, or Logical, or Crazy Hand, Crazy, picked each of the fighters.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have 7 fighters. Got Piranha Plant, Joker, Hero, Banjo and Kazooie, Terry Bogard, Byleth, and Sephiroth.
I think Crazy Hand picked Piranha Plant, because that's just absolute bonkers.
All right.
I would say Crazy Hand picked Hero just because of the randomness.
Okay.
Random.
Huh?
Okay.
I was saying random.
Yeah.
Dave, how about yourself?
I'd say Crazy Hand picked Banjo Kazooie because that is from the wrong universe.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
All right, we got Joker, Terry Bogart, Byleth, and Sephiroth left. I think Master Hand definitely got Sephiroth.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Because of the cold, methodical, and logical.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And we got
I think I'd also go Master Hand for Terry, because the kind of methodical fighting kind of genre, being very specific, I think might be a good one there.
I'm kind of torn on Joker. He can go either way because, one hand, crazy hand, because if you know the Persona series, his arcana is the Fool, which means a wild card, which is why he has the ability to wield multiple personas. But as a person, he is level-headed and thinks things through, so he can go either place.
Okay, all right.
So if as a person, his name isn't Joker, then right? So
Joker's his kind of his
pseudonym
alias,
right?
The
so
name he
I
goes
would
by
say
when he's on a job.
So if he's on the job, he's the Joker. So, and that sounds kind of funny if I say it that way if he's on the job. But anyways, crazy hand, I would say for Joker. That sounds good.
Yep.
And then Byleth, because of methodical, I think strategy. I would think
that's
Byleth
a good point.
Is good at
strategy game.
So there we got
I
it.
would also think like just look, there's another Fire Emblem character that seems pretty methodical and strategic and logical. And
so there
cold.
we have it. Master Hand has brought in Sephiroth, Terry Bogart, and Byleth, and Crazy Hand brought in Piranha Plant, Hero, Banjo-Kazooie, and Joker.
I love it. Love all of it.
Mega Dragon asks, can we talk about the way Sephiroth's victory screen is?
All right. Okay, give it a go, Jesse.
I don't know what that's a reference to, because I don't know the game and I don't know Advent Children, but it's very flamey.
Yeah, so he's basically walking into a flame, kind of turns around, gives a bit of a look. It is a callback to, I think, a very specific scene in Final Fantasy that it's referencing. So I think it's kind of, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, I think you're, He
says he walks into a freaking inferno.
Yeah, well, that is kind of cool. I mean, I think that's one of the things I always admire about the work that Sakurai and his team does here is that whatever the series is, they do their research. It's love, it's care. It's not just drag and drop. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of time and energy put into it. So I think that is awesome. I also appreciate how Mecha Dragon called out that we have to buy Jesse Smash Brothers, and that he's disappointed that you don't own it in some capacity, Jesse.
Yeah, don't bother.
I think he's speaking
Save the
for
money.
all of us there, really. Sorry, Jesse.
Exactly.
If you do it, it's not getting played, so just save your money.
Just put down Picross HD XL RPG and play Smash for a bit. You know what I'm saying? Now, in all fairness, we don't want to bust in Jesse too much because his son Matthew plays Smash at a level which is almost unhuman.
He has like 800 hours.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy to watch him play, and pretty incredible. So we'll give you a little bit of leeway based on your children there, Jesse. Moving on. Hey, Tim, do you want to run us down through this next section here about the award winners from the Game Awards last week, so we can kind of do a bit of a highlight reel?
Sure. Yep. I was just wondering because I know we were there. Well, not technically there, but I wasn't sure if this was if we were supposed to talk about this, but yeah.
No, I just wanted to. I put them in the notes so we talk about them on the show for one episode because it wasn't in podcast form. It was the only way to know all
Makes
this
sense.
would be to see it in YouTube.
Okay, so yeah, the Game Awards. In case you didn't watch it or just need a reminder who won, basically the best independent game, which we were just talking about, and also got best action game was Hades. And Dave, you were saying you were getting into that a lot, right? So, and I've been on the fence. I mean, not on the fence. I know it sounds like a really cool game. Everybody in our community is talking about it, and it's on my Christmas list as well. So that's something I'll probably get. So,
I think Hades is a worthy winner there. Especially in the action genre, because one of the things that makes it such a compelling experience is the array of weapons you can choose and how that completely turns the play style on its head over and over again with the same characters, with the same essential storyline. So I think there's a lot of visual satisfaction. The synopses start popping when you're playing that game because of the way the action is designed on the screen. And it's a creative take on the sort of the bow and arrow, the sword, the shield. And they've done a really, really nice job of making it visually interesting, things that you think you've probably seen 1,000 times over in 100 different games, but also, adjusting it and flexing it to fit that narrative, but to play differently each time. So I think it's a worthy winner.
So the part that kind of makes me stay away from stayed away from this and others like it as the roguelike label,
Yeah.
because I don't really go for those type of games because I get frustrated with those type of games.
Yeah.
So,
the thing they do beautifully there, because I'm also not a roguelike fan in general, because like the idea of like getting like 7.5 minutes in, or even worse, 37.5 minutes in, and then getting set back to 0, right? But the thing they've done beautifully is they're telling a story that evolves deliberately, clearly, and you can see where it's unfolding to without knowing what the outcome is going to be, but you can see the story being told with every playthrough, and they keep your progress with every playthrough. So your strength builds, your stats build, your weapons, you keep them, and it can still be, you might imagine that it might still be frustrating to get sent back to the beginning again when you're 37 minutes in, but because every time you go back to the beginning, the game recognizes that the characters at the starting point talk to you and say, hey, that last thing you did, that was pretty interesting, how compared to the first thing you did. So you're talking to people back at home base, as it were, which you're trying to escape from, right? Without saying too much about the story. And they're kind of gently mocking you or commiserating with you. But the storyline itself is constantly changing. And what I like about it is you can tell that the resetting is part of the storyline in a way that it actually makes you feel more like you're playing a story than you are actually being reset every time. And that if I was going back to basics like that, there was a game that came out, like it was called Minute or something, where you're going out and then you come back after a minute. I just couldn't quite get my head around. But this feels like it's a 8-hour game told in 25-minute installments, and that's kind of a thing of beauty in a way.
Yeah, Minute is a game I actually finished. And it's a weird way to play a game, but
Did you play Hades?
I have not. I've also been on the fence. I've heard people say this is the roguelike to play if you don't like roguelikes, but I've heard other people say if you don't like roguelikes, this isn't going to change your mind. So
I think if any roguelike is going to change your mind, it's this one, I think.
Right. So
if you want to give yourself the final test,
Yeah. Right now, I've got a lot of things to play. So if I ever come up empty, this is still top on my maybe list. But I don't know. Yeah, and the reason why I had this list of games here because these were Nintendo Repped wins. I didn't list all 30 awards, just the ones
that we can actually go and play on the Switch, right?
By the way, I will say while we're on the Hades topic, if you play it with the sound on and listen to the voice acting, because reading through the blurbs or skipping through them, which is even worse, you won't get the story in this game, and then you really will just be playing a roguelike. So enjoy the story acting and let them tell you the story.
Yeah, that's what I've read too. It's a really good narrative in there. Justin, have you played this one? Justin, you're frozen?
Sorry. Yes, I have. I did freeze here for a second. Yeah, I picked it up and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. This was announced at Game Awards 2019, I think. And I had watched No Clips documentary on it, and I was like, I'm hoping this comes to Switch. And when it came out, I was like, yes, this is an instant for me.
That's right.
I love this. This was Game of the Year. This is my top 5 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Excellent. Yeah. And then also we got a couple other categories that you can play on your Nintendo Switch, and that's Best Fighting Game. Got Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, won Best Fighting Game, and then Best Family Game, of course, was awarded to Animal Crossing: New Horizons. And that didn't win, Game of the Year, but we got Best Family Game. Nintendo did.
Yeah, go on.
At least it was not like last year where it was the Nintendo category.
Yeah,
there was a few nominations that weren't Nintendo this time.
Yes.
A couple. Yeah. Fall Guys, Crash Bandicoot, Minecraft Dungeons. Everything else is Nintendo, right? I think Animal Crossing had its moment in the zeitgeist in the first half of the year, but for me, like for a lot of people, and I really enjoyed it, and I enjoy the Dad Crossing podcast as well, as sister to this podcast.
Yes.
But they just didn't manage to figure out the things that always drive me crazy about Animal Crossing. So I couldn't get the last fossil. I couldn't fill out my Pokedex of animals, but I could every single day get up and do the same routine. Talk about a roguelike. There's the ultimate roguelike for me. You know? Every morning you wake up and you got to pay some bills and nothing's changing on your island. You know,
right.
So in the end, I fell off like I always fall off. So it's definitely not game of the year for me. But it had a wonderful cultural moment at a time when we all needed it. So you can't take that away from it.
And that's the biggest part I think that you mentioned there is it's always going to be in someone's moment, right? There's going to be nostalgia for probably my kids in some later on down the line for them. They're going to be, oh yeah, Animal Crossing, I played that. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be huge at that point.
Yeah, I know. Like for my family and for my kids, I don't think there has been any game that we've played or brought home or that caught them the same way as Animal Crossing did. Right, like it was, and to your other point, I think it's interesting. It's association with its moment in time, right? Like that game will always kind of be associated with the beginning of a pandemic, right? Like that was kind of the hit moment for it, and so for good or for bad, like. But I do agree, like it was what it needed to be. I do believe there's some things that still needs to be ironed out. Like how is it that I can go to the Mabel shop and I can buy clothing, but I can only
just said he finally got so enraged he blew up completely. They're always talking about the shopping is what takes you off the air eventually, you know.
Right. Well, and one of the things I was thinking of too is like that time when the documentary about 2020 comes out, about COVID-19.
Right.
I can just see it now. They're going to talk about COVID-19 and how it hit, all the different countries at different times. And then it really hit U.S. the hardest in 2020. But also what really hit the U.S. really hard was Animal Crossing, and how big it blew up and all that kind of stuff.
Right. And I was going to say something similar, which is, so Animal Crossing might not have won Game of the Year, but you can bet that next year, the year after, 5-10 years from now, people say, what was happening in 2020 game-wise? Oh, yeah, Animal Crossing, So it definitely won a whole different kind of game here, but it didn't win these awards, so there you go. Yeah. Justin, we noticed you got so enraged you just completely disappeared and blew up there.
Yeah, sorry guys, I was playing Google Stadia. Just kidding. Yeah, no, I was just saying it's the touch point of where it was. All right, so speaking of some other pieces of quick information, hey, ladies and gentlemen, for 24 months in a row, 2 years, the Nintendo Switch is the best-selling console. 24 months in a row. I don't know if that has broken any records or it's that setting the records. Jesse, do you know? Like, that has to have broken records.
I don't know. I'll try to see if I can find out for next time. But
okay, cool. I didn't know if maybe you just knew off the top of your head. You're a very intelligent guy.
Yeah. That I don't know. But I can play. Jesse was right here. But I said that even with the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, that Switch would still outsell them. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. You will sell off the shelves. Just whoever can get the most stock out there will sell the most. And Nintendo did.
I'm not as smart as Jesse, but I have my Google right here, and apparently the Switch has the longest streak of all time, having dethroned the Xbox 360's previous 21 months straight, according to InputMag.com. So
excellent.
That makes sense to me. Yeah,
that sounds great.
I'm here to Google anything you like.
There you go. Perfect. We always need a good Googler, right? So someone to keep us honest as well.
You beat me to it. Yeah.
Well, I do think you're right, Jesse. I think that the challenge, and this is the conversation we were having before about Xbox and PlayStation coming in November, right? Couple things. I think splitting markets, right? You're pulling away, so you have two game consoles competing in the same space. So you're changing your market, or you're changing where people spend their money. But then the other just harsh reality, and of course Marty Estes is a great example of this. You just couldn't get one. Do you know what I mean? Like there was no stock, right? Marty just this week put out that he had finally was able to secure PS5, and that it was like by hell and by high water, like someone else got it for him essentially.
I still can't get one,
and Jesse, you just got yours this week, right?
Yeah, mine came on Wednesday.
Yeah, Tim, you're still just praying, just living on a prayer.
I told Santa, don't come in my house unless you got a PS5.
Might be a very, very sad day at the Tim's house on Christmas Day.
Oh, kids, sorry, no presents because there's no PS5. Sorry.
Did anyone? Sorry, this is a bit of a side note. Did anyone see that Saturday Night Live skit? with the
No.
PS5?
No, I
No,
missed it.
No.
Oh, I'll send along to this group, but they did a parody of Stan by Eminem.
Oh,
And
I read about it,
it was
but I didn't
Pete
watch it.
Davis, and he's like, "All I'm asking for is a PS5, bro." And it was just kind of like it escalated. So I'll send it to this group afterwards. I had a pretty good laugh at that one.
that's funny.
So yeah. No big shock here. I think Nintendo will continue to. I do think probably as Xbox and PlayStation kind of sort out their supply chains, we may see that 24-month run come to an end potentially once those supply chains are really corrected. But of course, that could also be, if indeed the rumors of a Switch Pro are accurate and the supply chain is corrected right around, let's say April or May, we may just be fine. The other part of it we have to always think about is what draws someone to buy a console is the games, right? That's, very often people won't just buy a console just for the sake of having the console. A game has to draw. And I think Xbox not having Halo at launch did not help those sales numbers. I don't think they made the compelling reason to buy it. I do think Miles Morales is probably a very compelling reason to buy a PlayStation, but I think when you move into something like God of War, which we know is a console mover for them, right, or even Horizon, like I think some of these big things when those drop, you're going to see an uptick in those sales numbers for consoles, and I think that may be where Nintendo potentially could that streak could come to an end.
At least for now, they can't keep them on sales. So there are people who will buy them for this. That doesn't matter what games are out there.
Correct.
But there'll be a point where they'll start to be put on shelves, and then when the games come out, then they'll be hard to find again.
Yeah, exactly.
Much like, when Animal Crossing came out, Switches were hard to find.
Yeah. Games move consoles. Consoles don't move games. Is kind of the logic we have to put around that. So, Tim, did you have something there? Just scratch your nose.
Scratch him.
Well, it was a good scratch. Really had my attention. Let's talk about a couple other things. Speaking of games, get some game announcements. The Nintendo Switch Online, couple updates happening, I believe, tonight, actually, to both the NES and the SNES. In the Super Nintendo category, Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble will be released, along with the Ignition Factor, Super Valid 4, and Tough Enough.
Good job, Roman numeraling.
Thank you. I was like, I haven't had a Roman numeral for a while. And then on the NES side...
Tells me you don't play enough RPGs.
No, I play the right amount. And then on the NES side, Nightshade. So 5 new games coming to the console. Any of these blow your skirt up, make you super excited?
For me, not really. I've never played Donkey Kong Country 3. I played the hell out of the first one. I played a little of the second one back when it was new and didn't like it as much, so I didn't even bother with the third.
Fair enough. Okay. All right.
And then,
Dave, any
like,
of these
Ignition Factor and Super Valid 4 I never heard of.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're getting into the realm of games that I am broadly aware of, might pick up if I had a spare few moments. Never have that moment, by the way. And so we're I mean, actually, Donkey Kong Country sounded like the one that I'd be most likely to get into there.
For sure. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I always recommend that Donkey Kong Country. So, I think that's kind of it for our major news items. I think I know, Jesse. There's a lot of Pokemon thing. Maybe there's a bonus episode again. You've been doing some great Pokemon bonus episodes.
Maybe. Maybe. Before we go there, did you want to talk about the Japanese side of the NES?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I completely scrolled past that. Do you want to grab that then?
Yeah. So they are also getting a 5 games total for Super Famicom, 1 Famicom. The Donkey Kong Country and the Ignition Factor, called Firefighting over there, are the same, but the other 3 games are different. One is Kunio no Dodgeball Doyo Zenin Shugo.
Yes.
Which translates translates to Kunio-kun's Dodgeball. That's right, set.
Okay.
It's Kunio-kun is, we know it like the River City Ransom and that related universe. This is a sequel to the NES's Super Dodgeball.
Okay.
The other game is Sugyo Hibaraki, which is a Sunsoft game. It's a fighting game using cute characters from the Hibaraki franchise, which are puzzle games. So think of like all these characters you see in Puyo Puyo Tetris. Imagine that in a fighting game. It's what.
Yep.
All right.
And then for the Famicom, they're getting Smash Ping Pong, which a game developed by Konami, never released in North America. It did have a Wii Virtual Console in the PAL regions under the name of Smash Table Tennis.
Okay.
So now they got a Konami game in there. Maybe they can bring some other Konami games over if they haven't already.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
You don't want ping pong?
Oh, it's a start.
Okay. All right.
And then I have a list of other games that are coming out that are announced. If you want to go over those?
Yeah, no. Particularly. There's a lot of games there that I don't really want to go over.
The bottom one is your Disco Elysium.
Yeah, that's why I don't read all the notes. Yeah, there's a lot of games coming out. Let's just say that. We'll cover them at another time. All right, let's...
one thing I will throw out there, Bravely Default 2 has a final demo out now.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And that game comes out February 26th.
Okay. All right, very cool, very cool. Let's move on to... What are we moving on to here? Events. Tim, do you want to do... Or what do we want to do here?
Real quick.
Yep. I'm just making Jesse press buttons now.
Just for Patreons, or if you want to be a patron, if you want to join the dinner table tomorrow night is our dinner table where, if you're a patron paying $1 or more, you can come join in our Discord chat. And tomorrow we'll be talking about board games. So if you're about board games, not just board games, but also card games, TCGs and any D20 games, just talking about tabletop games in general, that type of thing. And because I want to learn about it some more. And I'm really interested in a lot of these board games, but it's a bit overwhelming. So, and I know there's a lot of people in our community who play a lot of the board games or tabletop games. So I'd like to hear what they have to say, and hopefully, we'll be talking about a bunch of other things too. So we always do. So it's a fun time, and hopefully you can make it. So tomorrow, 10:30 p.m. or tonight, if you're listening Friday morning, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we do the show.
Nice. Okay. All right.
All right. Yeah, I can do the Pokemon Go stuff in a weekend episode.
Sorry?
I can do the Pokemon Go stuff in a weekend episode.
Bonus episodes. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let's move on to what we've been playing. All right. Dave, as our illustrious guest here, sir, what have you been playing?
Well, I'm currently I'm sort of at the buffet of Christmas gaming. So I'm currently playing 8 games at the same time, which is a place I never like to be. And I'm about to pick up my 9th game. So I'll just tell you what they are real quick. I'm playing Watchdogs Legion on PS4 and Bugsnax at the same time. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Yakuza Like a Dragon on the Xbox, along with Tetris Effect. But on Switch, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, and Hades. So I've just gotten into Age of Calamity, which I have to say is a beautiful game, and I enjoyed the mechanics in Hyrule Warriors and those Dynasty Warriors games. So that's the one that would probably be my pick. We've already talked about Hades, so Age of Calamity is the one I'm getting into.
You said Assassin's Creed, and what else on the Xbox?
Tetris Effect, which just came out on the Xbox. Right. Yeah, and I will say, if I played Tetris Effect on the PlayStation VR headset, and it was much better in VR. It just if you've done Tetris Effect in VR, I wouldn't recommend doing it on the flat screen, because you're like, oh man, what is this? I'm not in the middle of the floating dolphins anymore. They're just in front of me on the screen. Yeah. But if you haven't played it on PSVR, it is worth picking it up on just as an experience on the flat screen. But that's the other one. Yeah, it's actually they've done a little bit of extra work to it as well to give it extra modes and stuff. So it is worth looking at. But I mean, once you've played Tetris Effect in VR, it will spoil you for having it in any other form.
Well, usually VR, anything will probably spoil you.
Well, yeah, I mean, VR, I haven't had much luck with PSVR actually, or any VR, but Tetris Effect is a good Zen moment. You can find yourself in there embarrassing yourself in front of family members for hours, just getting totally lost in your universe there.
Nice.
I'm waiting for that to come to the Oculus Rift. I have an Oculus Rift.
Oh, that would be great on Oculus Rift. Yeah, it's a game that lends itself well to that environment, no doubt.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
I'm about to pick up Miles Morales and have a go at that on PS4 as well.
Nice. What do you think of Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
I am about 5 or 6 hours into it, and I like it. It's beautiful. I haven't gotten out of Norway yet, and I'm keen to get into the UK. I want to come visit my neighborhood in the game and see what's going on, because it's actually set on the UK side. It's set in my neighborhood. Well, not literally in my neighborhood, but the geographical overlay is there. So I'm looking forward to making the break out of Norway. But it's some people say it's the best Assassin's Creed, or at least it's going back to the originals and has the best of the now. But actually, I really enjoyed Odyssey and Origins a lot, and I'm not enjoying this as much as those. But it is no doubt it is a fine game.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I was curious. Yeah, I think very much like you, I'm actually looking forward to going across the boat and seeing if I can head over to Ireland, which I believe is one of the areas you can explore there. So
yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Thank you. Jesse, you got lots you've been playing. You want to give us a high level, much like Dave did there?
Yeah, I'm taking lessons from Tim, apparently, on how to play games. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is...
No, don't.
Don't? So we were talking about cloud gaming, and there goes Justin. I
saw that coming because he froze on our side.
Yeah. So I picked up Amazon's Luna, and so I was reluctant to try Stadia just because of their pricing model. You still have to buy the games.
Yeah.
But it's just doesn't.
Yeah, it is annoying having to do that when you pay the monthly subscription as well. I get you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. In a streaming service that puts a bad taste in my mouth. While I'm a digital gamer, I have all my PlayStation games, or most of my PlayStation games, most of my Switch games are digital, but at least I'm downloading the files and I have custody of files, so I still have a sense of owning something. But here I don't. But I decided to give it a try because the Amazon I'm Amazon Prime, so I had the chance to sign on to early access, and their plan is they have two plans. One's a $6 a month plan, which gives you about 30-ish games, and then or I can for $15 a month it adds a bunch of Ubisoft games. So like I could play Valhalla, I could play Fenyx Rising, etc. But so I went with the $6 plan, and with it, I bought their controller that's designed for it. Normally it's $70, but during early access it was $20 off, so I got it for $50. And apparently Stadia does the same thing, but I didn't know about it until I talked with Justin, and others. But I expected the controller to Bluetooth connect to the computer, and it just works like any other controller. But the controller is configured to connect to my Wi-Fi directly and log into my Amazon account. So that's how it knows who I am. Right. So none of my computers is actually paired to the controller. The controller logs in as me, and if I'm logged in under the Luna app or on a website, on the Luna website, logged in as within my Amazon account, it says, okay, connect this screen with that controller, and things just work. And I was, I was surprised at how easy that was. I did try on my iPad's browser. That was not so good, because I blame the Wi-Fi on that. But the other two times I played it, either on this computer, on this monitor, or on my laptop connected to my 4K TV behind me, those worked well. Both are Ethernet instead of Wi-Fi, and these are still running at 1080p screens. 4K is coming. And in general, I had no problems. I had a few small issues here and there, and I'll kind of talk them over when I get that far. The first game I played is Yoku's Island Express. I think Justin played that on the Switch when it came out.
Yep.
It's Metroidvania pinball.
Mm-hmm.
And the smallest latency makes the game almost unplayable. And there's just enough latency in triggering the flippers that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I've got maybe half hour, 45 minutes in. So I was able to move a good part of the map, but I got to a point where I just couldn't advance because I couldn't do that one specific trick that the game wanted me to do.
That's
But
good to know.
but I did. It was fun, but yeah, a pinball game over streaming, probably not a good idea.
That's good to know.
The next game I tried is Indivisible, which oddly enough is a game I kickstarted, and I had a Switch code for this a year ago when it was originally and I just found out I had the code yesterday. So I now have it downloaded on my Switch, but I've played it on Luna, and here I didn't have any problems with the video, but early on I had problems with the audio, just getting a little crackly. But later on in the game, that seemed to clear itself up. I did get to a point where I was just stuck. The boss was throwing fireballs in a pattern at me I literally couldn't avoid. And so I'm like, I'm not going to fight with this anymore. I have other games to play. But still, it was like 5 hours in, maybe. If you know the game, it's the second fight with Michael Dorn's character. Or Worf from Star Trek, if you know him. Then the last game I want to talk about with Luna is Control, which was a streaming game on the Switch. And every few years I decide to try a shooting game to remind myself why I don't like shooting games. And like literally the first 3 enemies that could shoot at me, I couldn't kill them. They shot me first. So I suck at games. So that game didn't last long. And as I mentioned, I was able to pick up a PlayStation 5. I haven't done a lot with it yet, other than just in setting it up and downloading a few games for my PS4 library and getting Miles Morales and the Spider-Man Remastered installed. The one game I did try out, which I'm surprised I never played it before, but apparently I never did, the Pac-Man Championship Edition 2. Like the very first thing it tells you to do is do this tutorial, and you have to do 11 stages out of the 18-ish of the tutorial before it lets you do the actual main game. So I'm like, okay, I never did these. So I did all of the tutorial levels, and then I played the first level so far of the main game, and it's very similar to the original Championship Edition, and which I liked. I'm going to poke at this from time to time, but it's just more Pac-Man Championship Edition, just with different mazes. And then for Switch games, we talked about Among Us. I won't talk about that again. I tried playing more Super Mario 3D All-Stars with Mario. Tried to play Mario Galaxy, and I was thinking in the Beehive world, trying to do the second star from that. And even that game, that level, I wanted to move the camera, and then the camera would just do its own thing. It locks in a certain spot because I'm in this certain corner, and I must look at what it wants me to look at. And I'm like, no, I want to look over here. So it's just, frustrating. Playing. I had no problem with it back on the Wii because it was on the Wii, but in 2020, kind of want better controls. Like the GameCube game had better camera controls than Galaxy for someone who isn't used to them. Hasn't played the game in a while. And then finally, this game kind of ninja dropped earlier this week. Dicey Dungeons. We knew about this from an indie director earlier this year, and it kind of had my attention. The first playthrough of the game, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a dice-based roguelike where at the end of the game I'll die and I'll have to start over with nothing again and then keep going. That's kind of what I thought it was going to be. So you get these cards that are your weapons. Like you start out with a sword that is, and then you start out with 2 dice. So you pick one of your dice, and the sword is do N damage. So if you roll a 6, you can do 6 damage. If you do 2, roll 2, you get 2 damage. It also have an ability of you can re-roll a die up to 3 times. So you can keep trying to get that 5 and 6 to do the most damage. And then as you play along, you get more cards for more weapons. You earn more dice. And so those all seem to be relatively randomized. So I got to the end of my first playthrough, and I'm like, I'm going to beat this. So kind of disappointed. So I did beat the boss of that playthrough, and then I found out, oh no, there's 35 other levels. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I see a grid of 6 characters each with 6 levels. I wanted to try to play the second level of the first character, but no, it won't let me. I have to play with 5 out of the 6 characters first before the other levels will unlock. And so each character then starts off with a different starting weapon and a different special ability. It's like the next one is a thief, where you start with a dagger that you can do up, the maximum is 3 damage. So it does end damage like the sword, but you cannot play more than a 3 on it. But it's usable multiple times.
Okay.
So
multiple hits.
Yeah, normally a card is used up when you use it for your turn. But here you can use it as many times as you want. And then you also have an ability called Lockpick, which lets you break a larger die down to smaller dice randomly. So if I don't want that 5, I can turn it into either a 1 and a 4 or a 2 and a 3. And I would want the 2 and a 3 because then I can use them to attack.
Interesting.
And then for a special ability,
mechanics.
He picks one of the opponent's attacks that I can use against him. So that changes up, like every turn I can get a different attack if they have multiple attacks, and then every enemy gives me different attacks to choose from. So that kind of changes up the gameplay. And then every character has a different ability, a different starting weapon. Like one's a robot that's you get no dice, but he has like a maximum power level. So you have to hit a button called calculate, and then you'll get a dice that's a value, and then the value will go up to that number. So say I got a 4, so goes up to 4, but it's maximum of 9. So if I can choose to get as many dice as I want, but if I go over 9, I lose my turn. Okay. If I do get 9 and exactly 9, then I get a bonus attack. Either a bonus attack, a bonus heal, or something bonus. Or I can stick, say if I get a 4 and a 3, I'll stop because I don't want to risk getting more than a 2. Then I have the 2 dice to do whatever actions I have left.
Did you do a video on this one yet?
Or I did not do a video on this.
Okay.
Anyway, so all of the other characters, like the original guy says difficulty rating of 1 star. And then the others are 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. So they're more difficult based on their starting inventory and their strategy, and I have not been able to beat any other stage. So once I did fail with the fifth character, then I unlocked the second level of the first character, and I still can't beat that one. So because the rules change on you, you have battle axes, which is double damage is 2n, but it's maximum of 4. And you're cursed, which at the start of every turn, when you're cursed, for every action you do, you have a 50-50 chance of it failing. If it fails, then you're no longer cursed, so you can do the rest of your turn without any problems, but then you're cursed again at the next round. So it'll always curse you at the one time you don't want to be cursed. Yeah, I went from being a little disappointed and thinking this game was easy to I haven't beat the game yet since that first round. So it's a game I'm gonna keep fighting with, but if I can't win one soon, I'm probably gonna give it up and go on to another game.
Cool. Good stuff, Jesse. Good stuff. Tim, you want to give us a quick run through there, champ?
Yeah, sure. I haven't been able to play as long as I would like to on a lot of the games. So, but I've been able to play little bits here and there, especially with the family as usual. The usual Animal Crossing: New Horizons, Among Us as well, because that just came out, of course, with you guys a couple times. A little bit of Immortal, Fenyx Rising. I'm enjoying that game. I've been picking at that one a little bit, but obviously the main game I've been playing is the game of life and work and user acceptance testing, crazy things to try to get them out before, so
spin the wheel to move your token.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that's been keeping me busy, and also because of school, I my extra time is taken up because of going back to school.
Tim, have you played many of the Ubisoft collectathons? And by that I mean, would you recommend Immortals: Fenyx Rising? I've heard a lot of different reviews on it. I'm thinking about playing it. I'm just wondering where you would put it on the recommend scale.
I don't think I've played it long enough to say, yeah, you should definitely jump in or not. So far, as far as I've made it, it's been fun. I haven't really... there is a lot of things to collect, because one of the things you can do is look around at your environment and kind of map out all these collectibles. And I did that like the first go, like the highest point I could find.
Yeah.
I could look around and try to pinpoint all those things that I wanted to collect. And
just as long as none of the collectibles are turds.
No, there's none of that, right? As far as I know. Like I said, I haven't gone that far yet, but so far it's been, like I said, it's been fun, and it doesn't seem like I have to get those things, but
yeah. I like a good Ubisoft collectathon. I find them very therapeutic. Put on a podcast, go around and collect all the things. That's where it contrasts with Animal Crossing for me, because in Animal Crossing, I don't think I can ever get everything. And I know with Ubisoft games, if I just plug away, I will eventually get everything. So whether you want to or not, it's kind of up to you, right? But how's the humor landing with you? Because that's the part that I think some people, and you mentioned playing with family and stuff, some people say it's a little risque. How's that going down?
Oh, well, the family part's been with the Among Us stuff.
Yeah,
so,
okay. Yeah.
But the Immortal: Fenyx Rising I've been playing on my own, and I'm enjoying what I've been reading or listening to so far, especially with the conversation between Zeus and the other god. I forget his name, but
Prometheus.
Yes, Prometheus. Yeah. So I like it. It's
Does it give you Breath of the Wild vibes?
The stamina does, and we knew this was coming, right? How well Breath of the Wild was, and it's received by not only the gamers but the people who make games.
Sure.
That's why it's revered as much as it is.
Feels like a potential bridge to Breath of the Wild 2 kind of thing, like a good bridging game.
Things that people liked about those games carry over in others. So we always do that, right? So we always do that type of thing. But I've enjoyed that. What I've played a little bit of, I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, Dave, I'd say like the writing feels like it's written for like a 13-year-old at times.
Right.
Hey, that's where my mind lives sometimes.
Fourth wall kind of breaking.
I'm in. Say no more, Justin. I'm there.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. A little bit of like Pixar, Disney, like Shrek humor, like that kind of like.
Yeah. I'm good with simple, simplified humor, silliness.
I'm enjoying it. It's fun.
Yeah. I'm up for some silly humor. That's all good. Yeah.
And I like a good hack and slash too, and that's got some of that in there too. So, in fact, I got one of the things I remember I got to do was once I powered up one of my weapons, I was able to take out this giant bear-looking thing that was there. That was pretty satisfying. So. Mm-hmm. So far, so good. And like I said, I'll probably have more to say if I can get some more time. I do have the holidays off, so I'm hoping to take advantage of that and be able to play some more games. So nice. Especially this. And then I played Streets of Rage with Sam. By the way, Sam says hi to everybody.
Hi, Sam.
He's like, tell the dad I said hi. So, but yeah, we always look for games to try to play together. And I downloaded Streets of Rage 4 because I've been wanting to try it. It was on sale. And I had a lot of fun with it, but he was just like, okay, I'm done with this. What are we going to do now? What else can we do? So, but I liked it. I'll probably be playing that one on my own too again. So, and then of course I got a couple games coming up that I'll be doing reviews on. or videos first looks on is When the Past Was Around. Looks like a very deep game with kind of getting some. The story is basically a lady who has to deal with some emotions on some things. I'm not sure exactly what those emotions are, and I don't think they tell you until you get into the game.
Yeah, I'll
But
be
you're
interested in
basically
hearing what you say about this, because I don't know anything about it, but it looks interesting, and I kind of have my eye on it.
yeah, it seems like more of a point and click type game too. So, but it's dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of stuff going on or in this character's head about relationships. Seems kind of like death may be involved, but I'm not sure. But I'm hoping that's what intrigued me about it, and I wanted to try it out. And then the other game is Unto the End. So the last one was When the Past Was Around. Again, that seemed like a laid back kind of point and click. Where this one, Unto the End, is it's described as. You know what? Let me see. I got it pulled up here. Let me just say, player skill focused, a challenging single player experience with minimal handholding. All the father's abilities are available from the outset, and mastery of those skills, as well as keen observation of your surroundings, are key to survival and success. One of the things that also intrigued me about this was the combat system, because it's they go in a lot of speak about how great this is in the eShop description, but basically you're not button mashing, you are being very tactical about where you're striking with your weapons and where you're parrying and where you're blocking, parrying, and then hitting after that. So in the video, it showed basically how you can attack and then block somebody behind you and then attack somebody in front of you, that type of stuff. So that's what intrigued me about that. And again, thanks to these developers for giving us a review copy of these to be able to check out. And I'm going to dive into more of that, hopefully within the next week.
Cool. Very, very cool. For myself, I will quickly go over what I've been playing. I talked about Cyberpunk 2077. More to come on that. Grindstone. You should pick it up. It's awesome. I highly recommend it. That's a Justin thumbs up approval. It's a puzzle game. Yeah, that's right. Justin said he likes puzzle games, so then you should really take a look at it. Overwatch, because anytime Overwatch puts out a season of stuff, they suck me back in. So they are in their winter festival event right now for the next 3 weeks, so I'm playing Overwatch again. And Among Us. We talked about a little bit of Among Us before. Loving it. We're going to continue to play it. We're doing some kind of Zoom Christmas holiday gatherings with friends, and so I think we're going to try and play some Jackbox and some Among Us. So that is kind of where we are. Let's throw over the community spotlight. Dave, this isn't your first rodeo. You've been here before. You kind of understand how this works, but tell us a little bit more about Dave Ernsberg and what do we need to know?
Well, you can see what I am doing in the gaming world by following me on Twitter at PikminD. PikminD is my gamer tag on all the devices. As you heard earlier, my vice in life is to buy all the consoles, although I'm a Nintendo guy at heart. I always enjoy playing multiplayer games. If I could find people willing to sync to my level and be patient with me as I button mash my way through whatever it is going on. So PikminD is where you can find me at, and that's where I chronicle my gaming life, such as it is. And that's sort of that's sort of what I've been up to is just enjoying the end of year bounty of all the games that are out there. I'm not a gaming war kind of person. I'm not involved in the console wars as to who's best. I just enjoy playing the games wherever they manifest and where I can find the best communities, actually. So I just encourage people to hit me up on Twitter at PikminD. If you're playing a multiplayer game, one of those things, let me know, and I'm happy to jump in. And that's really all about me. I mean, that's as you said, not my first rodeo. So folks, some folks will remember me from last time. Most probably won't. But that's my story.
Nice. What we're talking about those, and you're kind of, as you said, you're kind of collector of the consoles.
Yeah.
Dave, I'd be curious, as a collector of these or connoisseur of these systems, how do you think the year went for gaming in general? Two new consoles hit the market in the middle of a pandemic. You've had some banger of games that wanted to be released, Cyberpunk, Marvel, big things from Ubisoft. How would you come and summarize 2020 for the gaming world?
I think 2020 was one of the years in the history of gaming that will go down as having been a watershed year. I mean, I was just checking some things out before, we got online here, and Nintendo share price is at an all-time high. Sony share price is doing quite well, as I understand it. There's never been broader acceptance of gaming in general, not just on mobile devices, but also in the consoles. We talk a lot about streaming today and what's coming down the pike there. So, I think the stay-at-home culture that we grappled with for most of the year definitely accelerated a kind of a welcoming of gaming into people's lives. But we were long on the road long before then in terms of our generation and folks who've grown up with gaming since the 80s as having, making this more and more mainstream. But I think it's been a big year for gaming, even if you're a connoisseur, as you say. And 2 new consoles successfully launched. I love the fact that Nintendo has perfected the art of counter programming. So, Switch came out, 2017, and it's built up a base of 68, 69 million units out there. They don't need to sweat. We don't need to sweat the fact that PlayStation and Xbox are launching now. And we know that when the furore dies down around the new consoles and they start to get bedded in, we'll have a Switch Pro coming, and we'll have the big releases coming out from first party on Nintendo. So, I think it's been a great year. I mean, and the fact that Nintendo counter programs to what the other 2 are doing makes the world a bigger, better, more beautiful place. When you say counter programming, there's been huge games on Nintendo as well this year, right? So it's really been, I think, for me, it's been one of the best ever years in gaming. And also because even during the downtime, Justin, when there wasn't too much coming out back in April, May, and June, I was going back and playing the library, and man, there is some great games on the library for all of these consoles, including PS4. So there's much to do. Be selective in how you spend your time. If I'm not enjoying a game, I'll just put it down and move on to the next one after giving it a fair shot. But there's just so much to do and so many high quality experiences that for me, it is the arrival of the world we all imagined that was promised to us back when we were kids. Like, the games look good, feel amazing, tell stories that are written by some of the most brilliant creative minds out there. So it's been a great year for me.
Yeah. So kind of a follow-up question of 2020 being this amazing year. And I would also say, speaking of stock prices, CD Projekt Red's is down significantly. But who knew?
Deservedly so. You put out rubbish and you abuse the goodwill of the market, your share price should be punished. I agree.
Yes, exactly.
And Nintendo's, I think, is at a record high since the Wii days.
Yeah. If you look at 2020, and so this is a little bit of like maybe future casting, right, for you, so you can go crazy. What maybe completely unannounced, or maybe the one thing that you are absolutely looking forward to. What is the game that either is not announced that you really want to be announced on any platform, and what is the game that is announced that you're the most looking forward to? If that makes sense.
So is that for me, Justin?
That's for you, yeah.
Yeah. So the game that I wish would be announced, and I know will never be announced, is Metal Gear Solid 6. I know, of course, it'll never happen. We all know Kojima Productions, and that story has been told a million times. But I was really enjoying what was going on with Metal Gear Solid 5. I really liked where they got to with that, and that just will never happen. So it's sort of sad to see the end of that, and maybe in terms of what is more possible. What I was hoping that Kojima Studios is going to announce a new game. Was it this week? They said they were going to do something, and it ended up being some calendar paper for your computer. I don't know. I heard that being talked about. That's Kojima, right? Soul crushing kind of disappointment. Yeah, exactly. And then occasional moments of brilliance, because I really loved what they came out with most recently. So whatever comes next. Yeah, thank you. Death Stranding. I really did enjoy that game. So that's the one I'm probably looking forward to next. Is what will they do next, and when will that come out? And that'll keep me going for the next 8 years while I wait for it to come out.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, Dave, thank you. And again, folks, you guys can check him out at Pikmin D, because he's a huge Pikmin fan. Obviously, makes complete logical sense. Yep. Speaking of games that we're hoping to be announced one day, Pikmin 4. Come on, Sakurai, or not Sakurai. Sorry, I'm giving the wrong person. A physical
Miyamoto? Is it Miyamoto?
Anyone?
So, yeah.
Come on.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, so one of these guys do it. But of course, Dave, we thank you so much for your continuous support, not only as a patron of the show, which we appreciate, obviously, but just being an awesome member of our community. That's really the thing that we treasure the most, and we're so thankful that. And obviously, it is wicked early for you at 6 a.m. local time for you. So bless you for getting up on this as well.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Justin. Always happy to be on. Love it.
Good. We got some questions, of course, so let's jump right into those. Jesse, there's a bumper for that, I think. Questions, community questions, spotlight.
No, it's just part of community spotlight.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? We don't have a bumper for questions? Really?
No, really.
We should talk
sounds
about
like Sounds like Justin needs a bumper. Any bumper. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and you
part of
just
the
hit a
community
bumper,
thing.
Jesse.
All right. That's a
For
good
the
question
love of
bumper.
Pete.
I like
For
it.
the love of Pete. Zach LeBlanc or Zablanc asks this question. Regardless of your own personal favorite, critically acclaimed, yada yada, what 3 games would you recommend as bold must-play games to the average gamer? So any console, whatever 3 games. Dave, I prepped you earlier for this one, so I'm going to throw to you first. What do you got?
I'll give you my 3 real fast. So I would definitely recommend. I just mentioned Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid 5 was a game that blew my mind and revolutionized how I thought about stealth, and it's worth playing. Absolutely. Second one I would say is Yakuza. Yakuza Like a Dragon is out now. It's on the Xbox, but Yakuza 0 is the pinnacle of that particular gaming genre. What I like about what they're doing with Yakuza is they're not following the rote. As much as I enjoy a Ubisoft game, and I really do like what they do over there, there's a certain formula. We've all been there before. You fall into the just playing the game and knowing the mechanics. Yakuza is different. They've just switched it up again by bringing RPG mechanics to the sort of on the street.
I was going to say, I hear there's a particular character in Like a Dragon that likes a particular RPG series.
There you go. Yeah, and it's so what I'm trying to say about Yakuza is exactly that, which is they are constantly mixing, matching, innovating, thinking of new things. The storylines are bonkers, off the wall, crazy. The mini games are genuinely fun. So Yakuza 0 I would recommend, or Like a Dragon, which is out now. And then third for me, must play recommendation. My most played game on the Switch, and I must be pushing 200 hours by now, is Tetris 99. And for me, that's the highest form of Tetris. I tried to get my brother to start playing it, and he noped out of it after about 20 minutes because he couldn't stand people sending trash on his screen and putting him under pressure and all that. But once you get your head around,
kind of the point of the game.
Well, exactly. That's what I was trying to explain. Is well, what do you mean there's somebody else playing Tetris with me? What are you talking about? But that is the joy of Tetris 99 for me. And there are many scenarios where just getting the Switch out, sitting down for 10 minutes, and getting a game of Tetris 99 on is the perfect moment. So I won't say more about why it's on my all-time highest hours clocked on that game. Sure. But I do love Tetris 99.
Nice. All right. Good 3 suggestions from Dave. Tim, what do you got?
A Link to the Past, Metroid Fusion, and Infamous 2.
And Infamous 2. That was one I didn't see coming.
Yep. Those I was trying to think of something that would span across all generations, but I said, screw it. I just threw them on there. It's the first ones that came to mind. Mm-hmm. But if someone, without thinking it too far into it, because you could dig into this a little bit deeper and be like, well, even though they're an average gamer, what do they lean towards? What should you recommend to them? All that kind of stuff. I just like, screw it. If you're an average gamer and if they haven't played these, I would say these are games you should have, at least try, if not finish, but at least try.
Jesse?
Yeah, you're probably not going to be surprised at all with what I'm going to say.
Picross, and
no,
Picross.
Not going to say. I do admit Picross is not an every person game. I'm going to say Dragon Quest XI's. Pick a system. It's on 3 of them now. Chrono Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And Final Fantasy VI.
Ooh, I you know what? I had that one pegged for you. I think I was like, yeah, Final Fantasy VI, brother. Nice, all fantastic choices. I'm going to go with. I'm shocked that no one here has said Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild. Now I also see here that Chris had put down. Chris H94 said he put down Super Mario Brothers 3. I would also support Super Mario Brothers 3, although I also see he put down NHL 99 and Ocarina of Time. Nothing wrong with that. The other one I'm going to say is I'm actually going to say Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. It's the other one I'm going to throw down. Not the original Donkey Kong, but Tropical Freeze. Hopefully that has helped Zablanc. Next question. Is your favorite game in your favorite series your favorite game of all time? For example, my favorite game is Fire Emblem, and my favorite game is that in that series is Awakening, but that's not my favorite game of all. It's not even my top 5. What do you say, dads? Does it work that way? What are your favorite game series and games in the series versus your favorite games of all time?
Tricky one. Yeah, my favorite series of all time is Zelda, and Breath of the Wild is indeed my favorite one. But it's not my favorite game of all time. So I get the gist of the question. I think the series that you love the most is maybe part of being, on a journey over an extended period of time that you just really enjoy going back to. Whereas a single standout game can be transformational. So maybe that's the point. Well, my favorite game of all time is Metal Gear Solid 5, which is weird because I don't play a lot of those games, frankly. But I would say for me, favorite game and favorite series, not my favorite game of all time.
Nice. Tim, what about you? You're a big Metroid fan, so this is interesting. I'd be curious about where this goes for you if that connects.
Yep. So yeah, my favorite series is Metroid Prime, and the favorite game in it is the first one. So, it's favorite series. I guess would that count for all the Metroids? But I just left it down to the Metroid Prime series, and then favorite game in it is Prime, and then of all time though is A Link to the Past. Now, like Dave said, it's transformational, but probably more nostalgia because that was my very first complete game I beat. I played games here and there, 5200, Nintendo, all that. But when I bought my Super Nintendo, and that was I had Super Mario World that came with it. But a few months later, when I got A Link to the Past, I ate that up and beat that game. And that was the first game on that system that I beat. And it was the very first game I beat, period, the video game, put it that way. So, and there was just so much to it that I was just blown away at, whatever age I was when it came out. So, that is my number one all-time favorite game of all time. So.
Nice. Jesse?
From favorite series is kind of a toss-up now between Zelda and Dragon Quest for me. I think I'm going to go towards Zelda. And for favorite game, I'm thinking, I like Breath of the Wild, but it's also a game I don't know if I ever want to replay. It's like I experienced once, and 150 hours, that's probably not going to be likely again. So I want to go with Wind Waker as my favorite in the series, because that one is one I have played twice and am looking forward to playing it again, hopefully with a Switch port next year.
Good choice.
And then for my favorite game of all time, I've been saying for over 20 years that Final Fantasy VI has fit that slot. Dragon Quest XI may have crossed it. I don't know. It's kind of too soon to tell, but it'll be one of those two games.
Nice. For me, my favorite series is probably going to have to be Legend of Zelda, I think, right now. Although I would kind of say that, I think that's probably where I'd go. My favorite game in it, probably Breath of the Wild, but my number one favorite game of all time, kind of goes back to, I think, the commentary before, is nostalgia, right? So for me, like Super Mario Brothers 2 is kind of like, that game is flawed and it's great and not great all the time, but there's something about it, right? There's a nostalgia moment that you sit in that pocket. That's probably like the one thing that just rings true for me. All right.
I hope that answers his question in regards to, they don't match.
Yeah, I think Dave had the most concise and specific, right on the nose answer for that. Looks like we have one more question that actually just came in, and it's from Mecha Dragon. So I'm going to pull that open. Bear with me 1 second here.
Speaking of nostalgia didn't do much for Ocarina of Time, did it? Because when Breath of the Wild came out, that had been my favorite Zelda game, but I went back and played it again. I was like, oh no, this isn't very good compared to Breath of the Wild. I hate to say it, but it got superseded.
Question from Mecha. Actually, I'm going to open up the entire thing because it looks like a popped off funny here. Hold on.
Good quality audio radio.
I know. Hold on.
I was vamping for you, Justin, and I ran out of steam.
I appreciate that. I was like, first and foremost, Jesse and Tim, like, take some notes from Dave. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's here.
Well, I was going to continue the conversation, then you interrupted, like you were ready. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
You'll let that one
I
slide.
can throw it back at you there.
Nice.
I'm seriously though, Tim. This is going to go back on your year-end report. Like, it's just not going to turn out well for you with the bumpers and everything.
Just
I guess I'm going to have to get my resume ready.
Right, exactly, for the free podcast. Did you get fired for something that's free? Or volunteer? I don't know. Mecha Dragon asks, question for the podcast. What is something that you swore off of doing but ended up liking it? For example, I never really wanted to get into PC gaming, but after giving it a shot, I'm starting to understand why fans love gaming on PC and using a mouse and keyboard. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, for me, I swore off of buying games that I knew I would never play. And then I found myself doing it again anyways. And I'll never really understand what the pathology is around why so many of us do it. But I will still see a game on the Nintendo eShop at $4.99 instead of $7.99. I go, yeah, that looks all right. Like Oceanhorn, I bought it like 4 times and I'm never going to play that game. So I don't know.
Yeah, we all do that.
That's a good point. Anyone else?
Mine is it started with the Nintendo 64. I did not want to play 3D versions of the games I liked, right? So, like I said, Link to the Past, 2D version of, playing Zelda. And now it's in 3D, or Mario 64 instead of playing, what I've been used to all these years for playing Mario games. I was like, this 3D crap looks awful. I'm not going to play it. And then it changed. It changed, as time has gone on, probably with Prime, because again, that came out and I was like, you're taking, 2D Metroid, like Super Metroid, and coming out with this Prime stuff. What the heck is this? And then I played it. And obviously, rest is history. Of course, they kept it balanced too with Prime, and then also coming out with the 2D stuff on the Game Boy Advance. So that helps. But yeah, it was, for me, it was at first the 3D versions of a lot of franchises that I liked, but I eventually, grew, I grew into it. So
nice. So mine for this, and this stay with me here because this is a bit of a journey. Mine used to be what I would call those dumb top-down games. And so what I mean by the dumb top-down games,
like Zelda,
Legend of Zelda. And so I was like, no, I'm not playing dumb top-down games. And I think even in some ways you could kind of stipulate any kind of RPG in the SNES era, right? Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI. So I was like, no, I'm not playing those games. So much so that the very first time I actually played a Zelda franchise was on the DS. And that was Spirit Tracks. That was my first Legend of Zelda game because I had stayed so far away from them because I was like, those are it's got to be side-scrolling, shooting kind of games or Metroid games. Those are the kind of things that I play. So that was I was solely wrong, solely wrong.
That's a good one to go on.
I can't think of anything that fully answers his question, but I kind of have the reverse.
Okay.
This is something I did that I regretted. Does that make sense?
Purchasing Picross games?
No, not purchasing anything. It's actually the opposite of that. When I was a kid, there was a time where I would sell games I didn't want anymore, and then I kind of don't want to. Wish I didn't do that, and which is why now I buy everything digitally. And if it comes to the point where, so I can't get rid of it if I wanted to. And if it gets to the point where I can't play it anymore because the system is so obsolete it can't get it replaced, then the system can't be replaced and can't play the games anyway if the system doesn't work. So if I had them physically, so that's kind of my regret, really, which is what why I am what I am today, I guess.
Yeah, I think we all, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I grew up having a Nintendo, a SNES, a Game Boy, a N64, all those things. And of course, it was like you traded in the old system for the new stuff, right?
Revolving door.
Yeah, and man, one of those things that I absolutely regret doing.
Yep.
Back in that, So
I still can't remember what I did with my Super Nintendo. I don't remember at all trading it in. I just remember.
Yeah,
just
I don't
not
know what
having
happened to my N64. I had my Super Nintendo, and my kid broke it when he was like 3 or 4 years old.
And you kept the kid?
Not anymore.
I cracked open a cardboard box in my garage about a month ago, and in it I found my translucent see-through N64 and my favorite 10 games. I was like, wow,
Nice.
this is really like Christmas
Wow.
from early, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's great when you find them. To your point, Tim, when you don't know what you did with them, there's always the possibility you might find it sometime down the road.
Yeah, I don't.
It doesn't sound like it.
I don't
No, because it was.
Yeah, no, it's in the river. Yeah, all
If
right.
it was anywhere, it was at my parents' house, but they've moved since then, and yeah.
Oh, it's been in a yard sale then. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're screwed.
Or hiding in an attic.
Right, or still in that attic. Yeah. Go back.
Exactly.
I'll go back to that person's house. Yeah, I used to live here.
Have you found a box of old antique video games?
Have
Could
you been in the
please?
attic at all?
Yeah. Well, gents, I think that might be a show. I think so, right? We've got
All
everything
right.
it looks like. Yeah. Dave's like, please, I got to go to bed and either get another coffee or something here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start the transition out. Very first and foremost, let me say this. Of course, big thanks to our executive Patreon producers, Chris Mears and Antonio Contrario, but also a huge thank you to our executive producer who makes us sound the sexiest, David Ernsberg, who's here joining us, and we're so happy for that. We're officially, I think, Tim, have you officially made that name change, right? In Discord or wherever we can do
For
it?
some reason, they keep blocking me for some reason.
Okay, we got to figure that one out.
Yeah.
But of course, Dave, I a little bit of a jesting, but thank you so much for being here again. I know it's early, and we appreciate all your time and energy here as well.
Yeah, no, pleasure. And I've enjoyed being a Patreon producer all the way back to the Wii U days. So you guys do great work on the show. You give us lots of things to think about and joy. And I know that sounds like a stretch after the time we spent together today, but I remember those times with joy.
Good.
And so, you guys have done great work, and we all appreciate it in the community. And it's just an honor to be on every now and again.
Yeah,
That's very kind. Thank
sometimes
you.
I forget that we started the show while the Wii U was still in its first year.
I know. What were we thinking?
No, second year. It was almost the second year. They launched in
Yeah, I think
2012.
so. Yeah. And actually, speaking of that, let's just do a little bit of a programming announcement for what's going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take the next couple weeks off. We are going to take the next couple weeks off to be with our family in a week from now, ladies and gentlemen, it's Christmas Eve, right? Knocking on the door. We might be able to get a bonus episode out beforehand, no promises, but will definitely not be a live show. I will promise you that as well. And there will not be a live show on New Year's Eve as well. So we are giving the entire team a full 2-week break. It's actually giving me a full 2-week window to let go of Tim and the performance he's had this week today.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, that's what happens when the holidays are on a. That's what happens when the holidays are on a Friday this year.
Applicants. I just kid. So we're gonna be back. We're gonna be back in early January, and when we're coming back to January, a couple things I want to make sure you're aware of. First, we're gonna talk about our 2020 Game of the Year awards. What we're giving out. We're gonna talk about our predictions from 2020. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Who is going to be our 2020 predictions champion? Make sure we're also doing our predictions for 2021. And I'm going to tease this right now. We've got something really special that we're happy and pleased to announce in early January that I think this entire community is going to be very excited about. So a little bit of a teaser. You gotta wait a little bit, but we got more coming. 2021 is going to be another fantastic year for us. As I transition ourselves out, of course, you can check out all of our stuff over at nintendodads.org, where we have our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, all that stuff. I just want to say this, folks. On our YouTube space, we are nearly at 4,900 subs. Thank you so much. That is incredible. We're getting really close to 5,000, and I thank you so much for your support as well. You can find us, of course, on all of your podcast catchers. I don't know, what are those things? Google Play, Apple Music, CastBox, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, whomever it is, whatever it is, you can find us there. While you're there, throw us a kind review, like some words, and how much we love this show. Of course, also, if you want to send us an email, you can email us at nintendodads@gmail.com or call us at 929-25-NDADS or 929-256-3237. Ladies and gentlemen, for the final episode of 2020, thank you so much. Thank you for myself, from Jesse, from Tim, from Dave, from Marty. Thank you for 2020. Be good, be kind, take care of each other, love and hug someone in your family. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
Maple syrup mooses.